धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेता युयुत्सवः मामकः पाण्डवश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय.
Welcome back to Gita Today. We call it today because it's always current. It's always here and now. The second part that comes into the play, and that's a very important component, is why, after all, Krishna agrees for war? Or why is war happening in presence of Krishna? Krishna is very clear about it. And he doesn't divide the world into nations or religion. What is he talking about? Why is this war happening? Why is Mahabharata happening? So to understand that, let's go back to our spiritual infrastructure that we talked last time. A healthy spiritual infrastructure is important. And what's happening is Krishna's time, or what's happening is Rama's time. What's happening is that the whole spiritual infrastructure has become contaminated. There is contamination of the spiritual infrastructure. Krishna says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharat. He's talking about glani of dharma. So dharma is a bigger picture, bigger domain. Spiritual infrastructure is an important component of this dharma. And this spiritual infrastructure that exists amongst us, the living people, also influences the unseen part. The birth and death that happens, as far as we know, it's just a biological phenomenon. But as far as Krishna knows, it's much more than that. So how can good people come on this earth in a physical form? Or how can bad people come in this world on the physical form? That regulation we don't understand. We don't see, we don't understand, we don't talk about, we don't worry about. But there is a regulation. If the spiritual infrastructure currently is contaminated, it's hard for someone like Buddha to come back and take birth, because certain criteria has to be met before he is born. Krishna wants, or Ram wants, this spiritual infrastructure to be as healthy as possible. Just imagine that there are a spiritual network, and there is a, for lack of any other word, terror network. So a spiritual network doesn't mean that you are always doing a meditation. It's all the people who create and contribute to the spiritual infrastructure. The intellectuals, the educational institutions, people who are doing service industry, whether it is medicine, engineering, whatever, anything that's progressing the world. And also how the society lives. Is there fear in the society? Is there trust in the society? Is there freedom in the society? Or is everyone afraid in Delhi that if I take a cab at night, I will be raped? That kind of atmosphere is showing that the infrastructure is not as healthy as we would like to be. Krishna's policy is very clear. He divides the world into these two categories. And he talks about paritranaya sadhunam, vinashaya chaduskritam. So he divides the world, or world population, or people of the world, into two categories: sadhunam and duskritam. Those are Sanskrit words, and sadhunam doesn't here mean sadhus only. These are all the people who are trying to do good things for the country or for the area or for the nation or for the world. And there are many of those. And then there are the others who don't want that to happen, who are miscreants, who are doing something to disturb that balance. So that's why I say there is a spiritual network and there is a terror network, or S network and T network. The T network, for one reason or the other, which they believe that they are right, are willing to go and kill 140 children in a school in Pakistan. Whereas the S network is trying to figure out what to do because they are trying to educate those children. It's not a question of who is Hindu or who is Muslim or who is Buddhist or a Jain. In Krishna's view, there are only two types of people, sadhunam and dushkritam. These two distinctions, these two parameters that Krishna has, first of all, he very clearly defines the two. And then the second, non-attachment. And these are the two components of Krishna's Yudh that we need to understand, that we need to imbibe ourselves. In Ram's time, there was the spiritual infrastructure. There were ashrams and where people were trained, educated, and also had spiritual education. And there were Ravan's network, which was all around the place trying to disturb that. So some people think that Ram killed Ravan because Ravan abducted Sita. That is just one part of Ramayana, one part of the story. I think the bigger story is that Ravan's whole network was all over the world. Ram was one by one destroying that. Ravan couldn't take that. Ravan could not imagine that his whole network, his whole image that he had created is going to go down. And in my view, that's the reason he tried to show Ram that, look, if you are doing that, I can show you what I can do. The same way, Duryodhan is not the whole story. It's the Duryodhan's thinking, Duryodhan's network that he created, and the image that he wanted to create. That was the reason. And the spiritual infrastructure was important. The spiritual infrastructure contamination was important. And vinashaya cha duskritam. I mean, this is an important one. He wants to eliminate that component. It's not that in the end, if Duryodhan comes and says, oh, he's defeated already, oh, I've changed, or I will do whatever you want. He can use that as a strategy for forgiveness. And Krishna is not there for that. The chance was given in the beginning when you were thinking normally, not when you are defeated, when you are down, and this is being used as a strategy. Although I must say Duryodhan didn't use that as a strategy. It has happened many times in India. A defeated person asks for forgiveness and people are forgiven. And there should be a rethinking of that forgiveness, if it has to happen, should happen before somebody commits to a war and not at the end when they are defeated. So this has been a very emotional and somewhat political talk, but this is what Krishna is. Krishna is not just spiritual, he's political and he's controversial, and I hope I have made his point as well as I understand, at least. And please do come back to the next episode. We will talk about the first chapter, which is Vishad Yoga. Vishad Yoga is like, how can be there be yoga in Vishad? How can they go together? It's like crisis and yoga together. So we'll talk about that. And please do watch the previous episodes of Spiritual Infrastructure so that you can have understanding of this one.
रक्षा हेतु अवतरित भीष्म द्रोण के बीच खड़े हैं।
भीष्म द्रोण के बीच खड़े हैं।
प्रेम से भर के नाचने वाले अश्व लगाम को खींच पड़े हैं।
अश्व लगाम को खींच पड़े हैं।
धर्म की रक्षा हेतु अवतरित भीष्म द्रोण के बीच खड़े हैं। प्रेम से भर के नाचने वाले अश्व लगाम को खींच पड़े हैं। सर पे मुकुट हाथ में चाबुक रथ के चक्र में धूल मिला है। रथ के चक्र में धूल मिला है। धर्म क्षेत्र और कुरुक्षेत्र में मल को